What's going on, YouTube? Today I'm going to discuss the New Vegas house ending and how he could make a space civilization. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. So let's discuss farming. Nevada is a desert state with chaparral grazing and select desert crop agriculture like alfalfa, herbs, roots like onions and potatoes, staples like barley, wheat, and corn. One can irrigate the soil with water from the Colorado and use clover for nitrogen fixation. The grazing manure from the cows can fertilize, while technologies like liquid nanoclay can help soil absorb water and increase its yield. This method has had success in the United Arab Emirates to make desert soil productive. In Utah, they have potassium mines that can provide chemical fertilizer. Drip irrigation, for example, has helped Israeli farms in the Negev desert minimize water use and loss of fertilizer by giving crops water only as much as they need. Furthermore, data analytics today help farms get feedback from sensors on water needs for individual crops. Hydroponics and aeroponics can improve productivity and conserve water, but they require close management. Getting food independence helps houses Vegas should NCR relations decline. The NCR itself cannot feed itself, so importing food in good conditions is a tough position. For vegetables and cooking oil, there are certain salt-tolerant plants like seashore mallow and dwarf glasswort NCR could grow on the Pacific coast. Both are great for feeding livestock. This would democratize the Brahman industry in NCR by lowering food costs. This plays to comparative advantage as saltwater is ubiquitous. Sulik and Fallout 2 would tell you that. And it saves water for growing essential starch carbs and micronutrient vegetables while boosting carrying capacity for livestock. About the society, government, and foreign policy. The society would be a state and enterprise at the same time of technological research and development, capable of self-sufficiency comprised of technologists, researchers, builders, engineers, and skilled industrial workers as stakeholders. Subjects in the Mojave could pay minimal tax and others could help by serving as human auxiliaries to Securitrons in the Army. Biological optimizations in nutrition and epigenetic improvements of intelligence could occur across the board by state incentivizing. I do think that a certain danger lies with artificial genetic engineering as this affects humans at the root and could lead to deterministic castes ruling everything forever. We don't want 500, 250 IQ bennies running around subverting everything after all. House would delegate a cybersecurity force and distribute control over Securitrons to him and others by consensus so the majority of his trustees can fight one betrayer that might arise, if needed, with their own Securitrons. You could have undercover observers intercept NCR's buying and terrorism by the Frumentari or California Brotherhood of Steel. The society would be somewhat like the Institute, but without facsimile humans and replacing people. Human efficacy and freedom is destroyed by synthetic actuators potentially governing every action. This Mojave state would be more ambitious and outward-looking with a quasi-religious raison d'etre of creation through a perfecting process of technological discovery and industry. It would be limited in population and not have Brahmin barons and the political and economic competitive liberties of a republic, which would consume resource surpluses that drive innovation. Division of labor, enfranchisement of the populace in the state project, and equally apportioned minority stakes in the state itself would minimize betrayal of House within the New Vegas society. It would stay cordial with the NCR but not be undermined by it and carefully appraise the resourceful subterfuge of the Legion. About the energy needs and the petrochemicals. Energy resource needs are already covered by nuclear fusion, the dam, uranium supplies, wind, solar depending on rare earth metal supplies, and biofuels. Crops can develop petrochemical feedstocks like ethylene through the Yang cycle, and bacteria can process cornstarch or glucose to make polyhydroxybutyrate, which approximates polypropylene. Coordination polymerization of titanium tetrachloride and triethyl aluminum can catalyze ethylene into polyethylene, the common plastic, without ever using fossil fuels. These bioplastics are less durable, however. Oil exploration could yet find untouched reserves of oil for petrochemicals that plants cannot substitute. Finally, another way of doing this is making biofuel through the Fischer-Tropsch process from halophytes with iron and cobalt-based catalysts. From an energy standpoint, Sierra Madre machines are not justifiable as there are more logical, organic sources for the things they expensively and inexplicably produce from fission and fusion. You could use big MT tech, but I would say from an ethics standpoint, it's not a long-term growth strategy for a civilization that's going to be spacefaring to just rest on the laurels of old world advanced techs like the Brotherhood of Steelwood. Maybe you could accuse the Enclave of doing it, and just many other factions in Fallout. Regarding space travel and colonization of space, House already has advanced computers and robots, so data analysis and AI can help in developing new engineering projects and technologies. In the real world, microelectrical mechanical systems have been rated to tolerate 15,500 times the acceleration of gravity. Therefore, hardware like robots could be sent using a mass driver with a low to zero friction track and a payload to escape velocity and sufficient velocity to reach Mars or another body in a short time so that more can be accomplished economically on that planet. The mass driver could have slower acceleration for more delicate hardware and rise from the Earth at a small angle to be structurally sound. The payload can reach Mars orbit and use a plasma engine on the way there to slow down to orbital speed after it uses the sun's gravitational pull in a Hohmann transfer to match Mars's orbit. Then it can drop its orbit at periapsis and use thermal control systems and a parachute to land on Mars. From there, microfusion-powered robots could work automatically or be remotely operated to build factories and cities, mine resources, and build another mass driver to return payloads of similar design to Earth. You could also launch payloads to reach cargo satellites with heliocentric, cycler orbits to continually go between Earth and Mars without using energy except when launching the payloads initially from planets. Once machines set up foolproof life support or terraforming, human shuttles can make permanent colonies. Massive satellites in the solar system could contain mass drivers which are slow and long enough to send colonists to nearby stars with gentle acceleration, with plasma engines to decelerate those shuttles into orbit. Planets or moons without atmospheres require high-thrust retrograde engines for a safe landing, which stops firing very close to the surface. For human travel, you could transfer people using rockets to orbit and then switch to different kinds of low-thrust propulsion or use a launch loop. From this point, technology could advance such that von Neumann ships can self-replicate, terraform, and seed life throughout the galaxy autonomously. Dyson spheres are solar panel arrays that surround a star, and a derivative idea, Matryoshka brains, can conceivably harness all the energy of stars and analyze situations of interstellar scope, respectively. On a cosmological scale with the heat death of the universe, Freeman Dyson suggested that human-derived intelligence can remain by progressively slowing its matter-stored energy consumption through slower computations, thus lasting forever. It's possible, though, that humanity or a technological descendant would find a way to sidestep heat death or perish far before then. It's also possible that we have an understanding of astrophysics that will change such that intelligent life won't perish. Solar colonization sets the stage for human advancement. The alternative is to languish on a planet of starvation, crucifixion, violence, and kleptocracy. Bet on the house.